Good morning, everybody. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here. I do see, I think, a Cornell baseball shirt here, and as everybody may know, there's a little bit of a rivalry between Coe and Cornell. My wife works at Cornell, and so that doesn't really happen in our house, but I saw you as soon as I walked in, just so you know. I appreciate being here. I am the Dean of Students at Coe College, which really means, in kind of high school speak, I'm kind of the assistant principal. I do a lot of conduct stuff. And so when students do things they're not supposed to, that's a lot of what I do. And because of that, unfortunately, that also means that I am working with students who have been affected by sexual assault or rape. And for those of you who don't know, colleges have had kind of a spotlight shown on them in order to deal with this issue in a more serious way. And so Coe has actually taken a lot of steps to try to help educate and prevent around sexual assault and rape. And the biggest piece is consent. And what we have learned is that high school students coming into college in general, not just at Coe, they don't have an idea of what consent looks like. They haven't been given the right messages. Lots of different types of media have kind of distorted what that is, and so we're having to educate our students from the ground level. And so that's where I see an opportunity for a project-based school like Iowa Big to pick up that effort and do some things that are geared towards high school students. And so, what is consent? When we talk about that, yes, I'm talking about in the assault and kind of rape context. As I get into this, I want to let you know that this is a difficult topic. And if anybody is uncomfortable with what we're talking about or needs to step out, you're welcome to do so. But consent is essentially the willingness to engage somebody else in doing something with them or for them. And so I was asked to consent to be here today. And so we do this consent thing all the time, every day. The unfortunate thing is when it really matters, when there's a chance for somebody to be really hurt by seeking consent or not seeking consent, we oftentimes don't do it. And so that's one of the big hiccups I see for us. We also find it necessary, especially when we're talking with our college students, to treat each other as they wish to be treated. And so that's what we consider the platinum rule, which is a step up from the golden rule, which is treat others as you wish to be treated. And so we want everybody to know what they're getting into at all times and to be okay with it. So why should we understand it a little bit better? Like I said, we seek and we give it every single day. It's something that we do. When we order food, that's a consensual transaction there. And so if we're doing it in those contexts, why aren't we doing it in all of our contexts? Men and women can have different understandings of consent. There's some recent research that shows that what men consider consent is at a different level than what women consider consent. And so we have a little bit more information on how to reach our students in order to help them understand what this is. It's also related to bullying. And so I have a kind of a 5th through 12th grade background. That's what I was trained to be. I ended up in a college context. And so all of this talk about bullying, kind of a close cousin to that is this idea of consent and that platinum rule. It also affects all of us. 1 in 4 women and 1 in 9 men will be affected by sexual assault or rape in college. And so unfortunately, all of us are connected, whether or not we know it, with somebody who's been affected directly. And so in those ways, it's indirect to the rest of us. That means all of us have a place in trying to take care of this, which is a crime, and it's taking power and control away from another human, one of our friends. We often talk about it with our students at Coe. We're the Cohawks. We say that Cohawks fly together. We treat each other like they're our brother or our sister or a family member, and it'd be great to get a feeling like that in some high schools as well. The other piece is the spotlight's been on colleges for about 6 or 7 years, and it's coming to high schools soon. There's a law and some guidance in place that's called Title IX. Most people know that in reference to sports and college sports and making sure there's enough opportunities for men and women. That about 6-7 years ago was expanded to include harassment in the workplace and access to education. And so the next step is that high schools are going to have to do this prevention and education a whole lot better. So, because we've been doing this for a few years, and I say we, it's the greater world, the greater population, not just at Coe. There are some cool tools out there in the form of media and context that we can use with our students. And so the first thing I'm going to show you, and I want to make sure we have some volume here, is a video. We're not going to watch the whole thing, but I'm going to show you the beginning and the end. And this is a video that's equating, does anybody really like hot tea? I really like hot tea. Yeah, there's a few people in the back room. It's kind of for older people, not for high schoolers. Some of you might like coffee. I don't drink coffee. So hot tea is a thing. But it's equating making tea for somebody to consent. So it's kind of just a big analogy or metaphor, and they bring it back to the end. My volume off here just a second.
If you're still struggling with consent, just imagine instead of initiating sex, you're making them a cup of tea. You say, hey, would you like a cup of tea? And they go, oh my God, I would love a cup of tea, thank you. Then you know they want a cup of tea. If you say, hey, would you like a cup of tea? And they're like, I'm not really sure. Then you could make them a cup of tea, or not, but be aware they might not drink it. And if they don't drink it, then, and this is the important part, don't make them drink it. Just because you made it doesn't mean you are entitled to watch them drink it. And if they say no thank you, then don't make them tea at all. Just don't make them tea. Don't make them drink tea. Don't get annoyed at them for not wanting tea. They just are placed unexpectedly and make them tea and force them to drink it, going, but you wanted tea last week. Or to wake up to find you pouring tea down their throat, going, but you wanted tea last night. But if you can understand how completely ludicrous it is to force people to have tea when they don't want tea, and you're able to understand when people don't want tea, then how hard is it to understand it when it comes to sex? Whether it's tea or sex, consent is everything. And on that note, I'm going to go make myself a cup of tea.
And this is just another example of some media, some examples that have come out. And so this is a comic strip. There's two sections here. First one's about inviting somebody over and then expecting something in exchange for that. And what we tell our students is that just because you offer something to somebody doesn't mean they need to take that, or you just invited them over and maybe that's the only reason why they came, and so don't make assumptions. Same thing under here. Somebody's dressed like a weightlifter doesn't mean that they want to carry around a bunch of weights. And so somebody should be able to wear, drink, say, act how they want, and not get assaulted. And so what we try to do is put the act of assaulting on the perpetrator, and it's never the victim's fault. So some opportunities within this project. We have some groups of Coe students working on something like this. And so there's an opportunity to partner with some college students and some faculty and staff at Coe who are doing this work. I'd love, this is kind of a pet project of mine. I'd love to take what some colleges are doing really well and bring it into the high school realm. And so developing some sort of curriculum would be really neat. We already have some multimedia or social media tools out there. I would love to redevelop those for the high school context. We have an opportunity to train peers and then do some train-the-trainer things, opportunities. And so there's some other things out there, but they're not made for high school students yet. And ultimately, we want to be good bystanders. We want to have people who stand up when something bad's going on. And we have the opportunity to prevent some assault. And those numbers, it's hard to quantify, but we have an opportunity to help keep somebody from being assaulted. So some skills Writing, editing, there's just a lot of communication that goes into this, and doing it in a way that gets across to students. Verbal, writing, editing, there's some evaluation and assessment that we'll have to do up front, so we make sure we are hitting the audience we want. Critical thinking, research, and project planning and management. That's what I wanted to share today. Any questions from the group? I recognize this is a heavy topic to start off this pitch day with in these couple of days, and so I appreciate that. I hope you get to see lots of cool things.